All over our cities, along our coastlines and across our green and pleasant land, an invisible army is fighting a never-ending war. Their enemy is the filth that we create and the vermin that thrive on it. Welcome to the hidden world of the Grimefighters. On Grimefighters tonight, Steve from Leicester Council opens the door to a nightmare. Wolverhampton restaurant inspectors John and Faye confront their worst fears.
I think I found rat droppings.
The city of Cardiff plays host to 300,000 rugby supporters, along with their love of takeaways, and waste enforcer Mitch is out on a Saturday night in Soho dealing with a stream of antisocial behaviour.
No one wants to actually see you, so if you tackle out.
But first, in Leicester, council property manager Steve has been called out to a one-bed flat where a tenant has died. It's his job to return the property to a rentable state as quickly as possible. He only has sketchy information from the police. This place could be horrible. And on first impression, it's about as bad as it gets.
This wall here it's awful. The mould that's built upon this wall, there's years worth of mould there. I've never seen mould build up on a wall like this.
As Steve ventures further into the flat, he realises that the mould problem is comparatively minor.
Well, the bathroom's completely full of rubbish. Yeah, I don't know what's under there. Bedroom looks pretty full of rubbish. Where his hands have been touching the doors, and whatever's on his hands is all over the doors and frames, and it looks to me like it's human faeces on his hands that is just passing around the property. The living room's absolutely filthy. Black, yellow tar everywhere. There's obviously a heavy smoker. Floors are absolutely disgusting. This is one of the worst properties I've had to deal with, I think. Very rarely you get them this bad.
For Steve, this flat is going from bad to worse, and he's not even seen the kitchen.
The smell in the kitchen's getting a lot worse. It's something's rotted in here. It's a very disgusting smell.
The cooking area may be one thing, but there are a few more surprises left on the windowsill.
Oh, there's some teeth on here. He's pulled some teeth out by the looks of it. 3 or 4 teeth on the windowsill, mixed in with the blue bottles. I've never ever seen any teeth on a windowsill before. Never found teeth in a property. Maybe false teeth, but not their real ones. He's obviously pulled the teeth out himself, probably while he's cooking his dinner or something.
The big problem for Steve is that his council staff are not trained to deal with such an extreme clean. He's going to have to call on the services of a specialist company to even stand a chance of eventually returning this property to the rental market. The disturbing world of house clearances may often go unnoticed by the general public, but one aspect of grime fighting that directly affects us all is the diligent work of the restaurant inspectors, constantly striving to uphold high standards of hygiene in all of the country's thousands of food outlets and restaurants. Here in Wolverhampton, John and Faye are about to make an unannounced visit to one of the city's many takeaways.
So we're now going to be doing a routine food hygiene inspection, a fish and chip shop, and hopefully we'll find that everything's good at this premises. My name's Jonathan, and this is my colleague Faye. We're here today to do a routine food hygiene inspection. Okay. And is it okay to come and have a chat? Yep.
After gaining entry, their first stop is always the hand basin in the kitchens, a good test of the overall attitude towards cleanliness.
The wash hand basin was bone dry when I came in, so it clearly hasn't been used, and there's also no soap. So I was just asking the food handler how he washes his hands, and apparently they go upstairs to a wash hand basin every time. I'm not inclined to believe them.
Faye isn't convinced about the upstairs facilities. She wants to see for herself.
Does hot water come out of that? Only cold. Okay. So if you do wash your hands, you wash it in this sink, and you've only got cold water to wash your hands? Yeah. Okay. You're not washing your hands very well then, are you?
Back down in the kitchens, the main sink and food prep areas are causing concern.
The law requires that food surfaces are easily cleanable and in good condition, and this isn't.
But under closer inspection, the state of the basins are put on hold as Faye makes an alarming discovery.
Rat droppings, I think. I think I've found rat droppings. No.
Finding evidence of rats in any restaurant is as serious as it gets. If further investigations prove there's an infestation, John and Faye will have no alternative but to close the takeaway down immediately. In Leicester, Steve has had no option but to call in extreme cleaners Dave and Graham to deal with the one-bed flat.
There's a lot of rodent droppings around, so there may be mice or rats in there. The floors and the walls are covered in human faeces all over, where he's been wiping his hands on the light switches and stuff like that. It is pretty bad in there, so get suited up.
Another day at the office, then.
After getting suited and booted, Dave and Graham can get in and check out the flat.
Very bad, isn't it?
Get some windows open, get some air in here, I think.
As always, the first thing to do is to get all the furniture out so they can get to grips with the clean-up.
What we're going to do is take a room at a time. I'm going to get all the big stuff out of this room, bag everything up, fold the carpet up, put it on the lorry. Then we're just going to start the kitchen. So all the rooms by room, really.
Although these extreme cleans are commonplace for the boys, it still doesn't make it any easier for Dave to contemplate the daily life of the dead tenant.
To live like this, I don't know, it's just heartbreaking, really. Because it's just horrible. The whole house is just a mess.
After a while, the sitting room is looking a lot better, clear of furniture and the unsavoury carpet. Now it's on to the kitchen and the teeth on the windowsill.
That human's teeth?
He's pulled his own teeth out.
No.
That is amazing.
He's actually pulled the whole lot out, the roots and all. Look at that, escorts. Stylish and sophisticated ladies available for on-call areas. Look at that. That is some crisp net curtain, that is, isn't it?
As if the ornaments on the windowsill aren't bad enough, after making a start clearing the masses of rat droppings and detritus from the cupboards, Dave makes a disgusting discovery.
Oh, a dead rat. It's horrible. There's a boiler down there or some sort of heating system. No, just cleaning the bottom of it out. It smells like human faeces. First time I've ever smelt a dead rat, and it's not nice.
With the worst of the kitchen cleared, it's now on to what seems to be the bathroom, filled to the ceiling with black bin liners containing yet more rubbish. When eventually they clear the bags, the bathroom underneath is decidedly unpleasant.
State that toilet.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely disgusting.
After the bathroom, the final room is the bedroom, stacked full of an array of boxes, old clothes and carrier bags. Now, having cleared a van load of furniture, the odd mattress and about 50 bin bags of rubbish, the boys can head down to the local dump and call it a day. But they'll be back in the next few days to embark on the deep clean. For the clean-up teams up and down the country, the daily cleansing of our urban streets is relentless. But when thousands of sports fans descend on a city, the rubbish they leave behind is a nightmare. In Cardiff, the Millennium Stadium and the city centre are playing host to over 300,000 rugby fans here for the Six Nations decider between Wales and Ireland. The atmosphere is exuberant, fueled by an insatiable appetite for beer and fast food. But the result in the next 12 hours will be up to 8 tons of rubbish covering the city centre. For Council Supervisor Dave, the battle begins when the match kicks off and the majority of the fans are off the streets.
We're trying to clean the main arteries of the city centre because the Millennium Stadium is in the city centre, so it's a very compact area. So we need to clean this area here and in front of the stadium, but we've only got a small window of opportunity to do that, while there's 75,000 people in the stadium and the rest of them in the public houses in the area. We need to be in and out before the game finishes.
The clean-up teams have got their work cut out to get to grips with this first wave of rubbish in a matter of an hour and a half.
What we're doing now, though, is basically keeping a lid on the rubbish and the litter that is generated throughout the day, because tomorrow morning we'll be in for 4:30, and then that will really be the business end of the clean-up, because when you come out in the morning, this whole area will be obliterated with litter. You will not be able to see the road surface at all, I guarantee it.
So far, Dave and his team are successfully dealing with their first challenge. Now, with the whistle blown, to Welsh despair and Ireland's triumph, the fans spill out in their thousands onto Cardiff's streets. With no chance till 5:30 tomorrow morning to start the big clean, Dave can only wonder what state the city centre will be in at sunrise. Coming up, restaurant inspectors John and Faye confront the potential infestation of rats. Dave and Graham wheel in the legendary extreme cleaner showroom Rob, and we're out on a Saturday night of debauchery with enforcer Mitch on the streets of Westminster. Throughout the country, an army of professionals are continuing to dedicate their daily lives to waging war on the nation's grime. In Wolverhampton, restaurant inspectors John and Faye are continuing their surprise inspection of a local takeaway. They've quickly found evidence of rats on the premises, with the discovery of droppings under the food prep area.
Having either mice or a rat infestation is one of the most serious things that can occur within a food business. They carry a whole host of bacteria, and they indiscriminately wee and poo everywhere. And if they've contaminated work surfaces or food, then the food that they've been selling to customers is not safe, and so it's serious.
Standard procedure dictates that Faye now needs to establish whether the droppings are hard or soft to confirm the age of the infestation. And now there are further questions on the general cleanliness of the restaurant.
The rat droppings here are hard, which would indicate that they've been here for some time, but also they've not cleaned properly.
Faye and John need to assess quickly the real extent of the problem. As they investigate further, the lack of hygiene is obvious.
This is shocking in here. I mean, this room is being used as your potato preparation room, and the condition of it is poor. You've got bare plaster, you've got bare floor, broken tiles, bare ceiling, and also you've got a massive great gap around the door and under the door.
John has seen bait boxes in the premises, but with rat droppings in the backyard and the lack of proofing, he is, to say the least, concerned.
They're aware of the problem. Now surely if they're aware of a problem out here, they would try their utmost to prevent them getting in. They haven't done that, which is obviously really frustrating.
John and Faye now set about a thorough search of the whole restaurant for evidence. Behind nearly every freezer, cooker and work surface, they find hundreds of droppings, often accompanied by smear marks left by the rat's oily fur. It's now time to confront the owner about his knowledge of the infestation.
Do you know what a rat dropping looks like? No.
If you don't know what a rat dropping looks like, how are you checking to make sure that you've got none in here? You haven't been.
John and Faye have heard enough. They decide to close the restaurant. So they call their boss Steve to come down and verify their decision. While they wait for Steve, Faye breaks the bad news to the owner.
The fact of the matter is that you are likely to be shut tonight, and you won't be opened until the problem has gone.
The owner has no option but to wait to learn of his potential fate. In Leicester, Dave is back to start the deep clean of the one-bed council flat. Today he's brought along Lee and the legend that is Showroom Rob. It's a nickname founded on a somewhat obsessive attitude towards cleaning. So the first thing Showroom tackles is the thick layer of nicotine coating the kitchen units.
Nicotine, yeah, you don't normally find it in the cupboards when the doors are closed. It's even in there. Must have been on about 1,000 fags a day.
After making short work of the nicotine stains, Rob, with his customary zeal, immediately volunteers for the bathroom.
I'm just about to get the faeces off the toilet, what's been plastered there for years by the looks of it.
For most of us, spending hours with our head down a loo would seem a terrible existence. But to Rob, it's oddly satisfying.
Other people would say it were an obsession, yeah, but I just like to make things look good. It's a challenge every day to do this. If I had a job where everything was clean, it would be boring, wouldn't it?
Within a matter of hours, Rob has worked his magic with the loo, and the rest of the flat ain't looking too bad either. Dave and his team are rightly proud of what they've done.
We've finished the bedroom now, which we're standing in. Done the living room, basically all that's left now is just to finish them, finish the hallway and a couple of cupboards. But we've broke the backbone really of it, we've done really good.
Now Steve from the council can get the flat refurbished and redecorated to get it back on the rental market in the next couple of weeks. At the takeaway in Wolverhampton, restaurant inspectors John and Faye have been joined by their boss Steve. After a detailed inspection, he makes his decision.
To protect the public health, I think the decision's got to be a formal closure.
This ruling is always difficult for the inspectors because it could ruin the business.
The decision to actually formally close premises is done in the public health interest. It's not a decision that we take lightly.
Complying with the law, Faye now displays a notice of closure in the window of the restaurant. It's up to the owners to sort out all the problems and to satisfy the inspectors that their restaurant is fit for purpose. Then, and only then, will it be allowed to reopen. It's Saturday night in London's West End, and as usual, it's party time for thousands of revellers. For Mitch, one of Westminster Council's most passionate enforcement officers, this is the start of the busiest night of the week.
Like any party, we have to make sure that the city's returned back to a grade A standard in the morning before mum and dad get home.
While everyone else parties, it's Mitch's responsibility to keep the streets clear of all manner of illegally dumped rubbish. But tonight he's clamping down on street urination, which seems an inevitable result of over-exuberance.
We have a stream of urine here. You can see clearly in the doorways that this area has been abused.
But while Mitch phones for the flusher vehicle, his endeavours don't go unnoticed.
Finally, a saviour for London. I have stood here in disgust for so many years, watching people urinate up this street. I'm ashamed to say, this is London.
To the delight of the local resident, it's only a matter of minutes before the street flusher arrives and washes the alley clean. So far, it's been a typical Saturday night, but now the clubs are closing and the punters are worse for wear, things aren't improving.
Pop music! There we go, 5 million years of evolution and we've got pop music.
In Newman Passage, Mitch gets a result and catches an offender red-handed.
Did you not consider actually using the toilet before you left? Yeah, you need to plan ahead and think about that.
Mitch has the power to prosecute, with the consequences either being a fixed penalty fine or even a criminal record. So the offender has good reason to cooperate.
I take it from your accent you're a visitor in London.
Yeah, just got here from Friday.
We expect you to respect and appreciate the country while you're here. I wouldn't go to North America and urinate on your doorstep. And apart from that, no one wants to actually see you, so if you tackle out.
Sorry about that.
Please, if you need to use the public convenience, there's plenty of them in Westminster.
It's been a busy shift for Mitch dealing with the traditional problems of a Saturday night. But there's always the odd perk to the job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate all your hard work and effort.
Now Mitch can head home knowing that at least a couple of people during the evening appreciate his endeavours. Cardiff at 5 a.m. Most of the rugby fans have left, but the city centre looks like a war zone, with only the seagulls picking away at the tens of thousands of half-eaten takeaways. A scene of devastation is quite usual for Supervisor Dave. There's a carefully worked-out plan to return the streets to normal by the time the Sunday morning shoppers arrive. But already, Dave has problems.
Already we've had one vehicle wouldn't start and we've had one puncture. We're short-staffed anyway, so it only adds to the pressure. Some of the machines, it's 5:10, some of them still haven't left, so we're playing catch-up already. We've only just started.
As the team starts to tackle the mess, it's soon clear this has been no ordinary night of excess. The sheer amount of rubbish is extraordinary.
This is the worst. Never seen worse than this.
Not only do the staff have to deal with the odd straggler wanting to help out, but also the mechanical sweepers are finding it difficult to cope with the sheer volume of litter and are constantly clogging up. All this is slowing down Dave's carefully planned schedule to finish the clear-up by 10 a.m. But after an hour and a half's hard graft, at least Queen Street is starting to look okay.
It's 9 o'clock and we're doing all right, I have to say. This area was awash with litter. Considering what it looked like this morning, I have to say I'm ecstatic.
To meet the deadline, however, Dave still has a few difficulties.
My main concern at the moment still is St Mary Street and Chip Alley. So the problem is the machines are filling up so quickly, and the fact that it's really the grease that's on the floor is dangerous. We're going to have that washed as soon as possible.
But even though time is against him, he still feels upbeat.
I'm confident that we will be done by 10 o'clock, fingers crossed.
Dave has at his disposal over 50 people and a fleet of some 12 mechanical sweepers to get the job done. Now all their efforts are focused on St Mary's Street and the dreaded Chip Alley. With the cut-off at 10 a.m. approaching, these hotspots have been transformed. But as Dave starts to give an update, a passing cyclist reveals the need to give Chip Alley another wash down.
As you can see, the time is 10 to 10, 9:50, 10 minutes to go. And as you can see, it's a miraculous transformation. We are on target for that 10 o'clock and the city centre should be back to normal.
So, thanks to the dedication of Cardiff's unseen army of street cleaners, the first Sunday morning shoppers won't have an inkling of what mayhem went on here only a few hours ago. Since the filming of the show in Wolverhampton, the takeaway that was closed down in May of this year was allowed to reopen. The owner dealt with a rat problem just a week after its closure. Steve already has a list of people wanting to rent the one-bed flat in Leicester, and Mitch's Soho reveller was this time let off with a caution.